Elementary school teacher called Rosemary Hartle. According to her 2017 obituary, Rosemary Hartle was a loving, fun, sassy, and sarcastic in a fun way. Beautiful, powerful, relentless, and inspiring. Sadly, now she's gone. But her voter registration remains. She's still on the rolls. Someone received Rosemary Hartle's ballot in the mail and then cast it. Who did this? We don't know who did it. We wish we did. We should know. It's fraud. It's a threat to our system, and it's being hidden by a news media totally vested in a Joe Biden presidency. Again, we have a right to know, we have an obligation to know much more about this. But thanks to the media blackout, it is left to independent conservative sites, places like The Federalist, to report what the rest should be reporting but are not. Thanks to The Federalist, we know that on October 9th, for example, a man called Fred Stokes Jr. received an unsolicited ballot in Clark County, Nevada. That's where Las Vegas is. 3 weeks later, the county received his ballot back by mail. Voting records indicate that ballot was, quote, completed. Fred Stokes voted for president. But Fred Stokes had been dead for 3 years. He died in June of 2017 at the age of 92. How'd that happen? We don't know. No one's reporting on it. In Pennsylvania, the state that made Joe Biden the president-elect, there are likely quite a few dead voters. How do we know that? Because the state told us. According to a report from last December, less than a year ago, from the state's Department of Auditor General, nearly 3,000 potentially deceased voters remained on the voter rolls in Pennsylvania. The Trump campaign says it has found evidence that some of them voted this year. For example, on October 24th, Allegheny County officials mailed a ballot to one Denise Odnick. She died 2 days before. Yet somehow records show that county officials received that ballot back, completed, voted for president, on November 2nd. Again, we're showing you more names on the screen just like Denise Odnick's. We can confirm that they all voted in the election last week, and all of them were dead when they did so. None of this is conjecture. It's not one of those bogus conspiracy theories that CNN worries about. It is entirely real. Why did it happen? How can we prevent it from happening again? Those are the questions. The first is very simple to answer. Democrats did it. They understand that when you send mail-in ballots to an entire unverified voter roll, you can't really know who's voting. But just to make certain that fraud remained likely, Democrats filed lawsuits in Nevada to eliminate signature verification. Think about that. In 2019, well before the coronavirus panic, Ron Wyden, this is a Democratic senator from Oregon, sponsored the Vote by Mail Act. The Vote by Mail Act demands that every state in the union mails ballots to their entire unverified voter list. Whether you ask for it or not, whether you're alive or not, you get a ballot. There's no other way to interpret this. Democrats are abetting fraud. This summer, Democrats in the House of Representatives passed something called the HEROES Act. It wouldn't simply have provided, quote, automatic mailing of absentee ballots to all voters in America. It also would have prevented states from restricting in any way ballot harvesting. That means that anyone could collect and return bundles of ballots from dead or living voters to polling stations, and there would be no oversight of this at all. That's insane, but expect more of it. Loose voting rules are too useful for the left to pass up. In January, Democrats could very well gain control of the United States Senate. If that happens, much will change. But one of the things that will happen, they will pass the HEROES Act into law. Right now, they're claiming universal mail-in balloting is necessary because of coronavirus. It's a public health emergency. We have to have it. But they're lying. They've been pushing for this very thing for years, for one reason. It gives them an advantage because it increases the incidence of fraud. An elementary school teacher called